Hey friends, my name's Sean McCormick and I am an executive function coach. In this video, I'm going to teach you 5 ways to overcome imposter syndrome as an executive function coach. Let's jump in. So what is imposter syndrome? Well, it's a feeling of doubt or insecurity where you wonder if people will see you as a fraud, even if you have the proper qualifications or experience to do the job. Many people don't know this, but imposter syndrome comes from your brain's fight, flight, or freeze mechanism, which tries to keep you safe and to avoid taking risks. This can be great when you're faced with something that's actually life-threatening, but when you're trying to start your business or transfer from the classroom to become an executive function coach, it's not helpful. The reason for this is that risks are essential for your growth as an educator, so you need to lean into those opportunities to take risks in order to get rewards. So for special educators that are transitioning into executive function coaching, this might look like, I've only worked in the classroom. How am I going to work independently from my home or online as an executive function coach? Or for a stay-at-home mom that's raised her child and coached their child with disabilities for years, but now wants to do this for other students, this might look like, oh, I have no background or formal teaching experience. How am I going to call myself an executive function coach? And even though you've developed these skills as a parent or educator to help kids with special needs that need executive function coaching, your lack of official experience as an executive function coach might make you feel disqualified and avoid actually going through the process of becoming one. But it's these skills, whether you're a special education teacher or a stay-at-home mom, that have helped your students overcome their executive function challenges that make you qualified. And it's necessary for you to push past this imposter syndrome so you can help more students overcome their challenges with organization, attention, and thrive in school and beyond. So what are the most common challenges related to imposter syndrome that new or prospective executive function coaches face? I've trained hundreds of new executive function coaches in the Executive Function Coaching Academy, and here are the most common challenges I see new coaches experience. The first biggest challenge I see is feeling inexperienced. Whether you're a special educator, a stay-at-home mom, or even a doctor in your past career, you might be wondering, how can I transfer that experience to show up prepared and ready to go to support my students with executive function challenges? Number 2 is the fear of failure. Many coaches or prospective coaches fear that if I haven't helped a kid with math or English previously, what happens if I face a roadblock that I don't know how to overcome? You might be thinking to yourself, what if I have a student who needs help with algebra or chemistry and I don't know the content? What am I going to do? The last major challenge I see is overthinking. So many prospective executive function coaches spend so much time overthinking the different trainings they should do, how they can be uber prepared for every possible scenario, or get overwhelmed thinking through all the possible business details, like what type of business structure should I use? Do I need insurance? When in fact, the real issue is, do you want to become an executive function coach, and are you willing to overcome that imposter syndrome to do so? The most common thing I see is executive function coaches saying, once I do insert program here, then I'll start coaching. But that day never comes. Now, if you take one thing from this exploration of the challenges new executive function coaches face related to the imposter syndrome, it's this. Everybody feels scared and overwhelmed at first, and it's important to acknowledge that and push through and get started. Because when you get started, that's how you learn, through experience. Okay, so now I'd like to share with you 5 ways you can overcome imposter syndrome as a new executive function coach. These are the habits and traits I see new coaches putting into practice to start their successful coaching practices. Number 1, leverage your previous background and experience and celebrate it rather than pushing it to the side or minimizing it. For example, I was a special education teacher. So when I talk to prospective clients, I talk about my experience helping kids organize their assignments, overcome missing assignments, email their teachers, all the types of things I was already doing in the classroom. I've also coached professionals from other fields. One of my clients in the Executive Function Coaching Academy was a doctor. But instead of pushing that to the side, we acknowledged and celebrated the fact that she'd worked with so many children in her practice and supported them to feel better. And now she was taking those skills to help them develop executive function skills in her new coaching practice. I've also worked with many related professionals, such as school-based counselors, occupational therapists, or speech language pathologists who wanted to become executive function coaches. And what I recommend is identifying the things where you helped students with their executive function challenges in those fields and bringing them to the forefront when you talk about why you became an executive function coach. The next thing you can do to address imposter syndrome is to focus on deliberate learning. So deliberate learning is when you identify the discrete skill in a larger set of skills that need tuning or focus. For example, a musician that's developing a song, they wouldn't just replay the whole song over and over. They would identify the parts of it that feel weak and then zone in on that, like the chord change or progression where they need a bit more work. So as a coach, you can apply this to your practice. For example, maybe you're really good in your coaching sessions, but you're struggling to convert leads into new clients because you don't have a great intake process. So zoning in on how you can improve your intake process is going to give you the most bang for your buck when working on overcoming imposter syndrome. Next, take action even when it feels messy. I like the quote, "Be messy or be messy," in reference to the famous soccer player. So if you're not the best at something, then focus on being messy. And what I mean by this is things don't have to be perfect. For example, someone might not put up their website because it doesn't feel completely finished, but then you're focusing on being perfect, not good. Other people say the perfect is the enemy of the good. In this sense, you really want to take action and put things out there even when they're not completely finished. That's okay. When you put yourself out there and try new things, you gather data and feedback that allow you to make continuous iterations or improvement on the process. This might start with your website as an executive function coach. For example, you can make a free website using Tutorbird that won't cost you a bunch of money, rather than paying a bunch of money to a professional when you might want to change your business name or approach later on. So be messy or be messy. Lastly, use data to drive growth. And what I mean by this is when I run coaching sessions or teach new coaches how to become an executive function coach, I talk about using what I call the family team meeting. So this is a process where every fourth session, instead of meeting just with the kid, you invite the parents or guardians to the session and you start with what's going well, what needs to change, and who's doing what by then. You can use this opportunity to work with the parents to see how they're responding to the coaching process and gather their feedback, rather than avoiding interacting with them and then being faced with challenging feedback 3 months or 6 months into the process. So always try to gather feedback during your coaching process, even at the end of a session. So when you're coaching a student, you might ask them something like, what was the most helpful part of this session for you and why? You might also ask at the end of the session, was there anything we didn't cover in this session you'd like to focus on during our next session? Remember, always be gathering data throughout the process and adjusting your approach based on that information. So in summary, the most important thing you can do to overcome imposter syndrome as a new executive function coach is to take action. The most successful entrepreneurs, coaches, business people I know are not the smartest. They're just the ones who are willing to take action and adjust their process based on the feedback. If you are experiencing imposter syndrome as a new executive function coach, try these 5 strategies today. 1, embrace your unique experience and background rather than always aiming for more credentials. 2, surround yourself with others who are doing what you want to do and learn from them. 3, learn the specific skills through deliberate learning rather than just broad theory. 4, do something for 2 minutes or less each day towards your goal of becoming an executive function coach. 5, use your sessions and family team meetings to collect data and use that feedback to drive growth. If you're ready to get started as an executive function coach and you want more support, check out the links in the bio for more resources on how you can start your executive function coaching practice and grow it. I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.